In a dramatic development that seems to come straight out of the 50 Shades movie, a fictional rumor is spreading in the entertainment industry. Actor Jamie Dornan has suddenly left home to spend time having fun with his close co-star Dakota Johnson. According to imaginary sources, Jamie and Dakota were spotted at a secret resort, laughing and talking freely, seemingly oblivious to all the gazes around them. Both have repeatedly affirmed that their relationship is just friends, but their closeness after many years of acting together has made many people suspicious. Meanwhile, Jamie's wife, musician Amelia Warner, is said to have couldn't stand the images circulating. An imaginary friend of Amelia's shared. Amelia is very understanding and trusting of Jamie, but when he decided to leave home to be with Dakota, her patience was almost exhausted. On social media, fans quickly discussed it enthusiastically. Some people defend Jamie, Dakota as just longtime friends, but others say that Amelia has every reason to be angry. Although it is all just a fictional story created by the community, it is clear that the trio Jamie, Dakota, Amelia always attracts attention, and even in real life, they continue to be the focus of imaginary scenarios that are no less dramatic than in movies. After Jamie disappeared for a few days with Dakota Johnson, the atmosphere at his and Amelia Warner's luxurious villa became more stifling than ever. Amelia, who was a woman of few words and a generous heart, could not keep her composure this time. She sat alone in the living room, the yellow light shining on her tired face. On the table, the phone lit up continuously with paparazzi photos, pictures of Jamie and Dakota walking hand in hand out of a beach bar. Each photo was like a knife twisting into her heart. When Jamie returned, he still maintained his usual calm demeanor. But Amelia could not bear it anymore. "Do you still consider this your family, Jamie? Or have you left everything behind just to chase after a crush?" Jamie was silent. His eyes were slightly confused, but also carried a look of indifference. It seemed that being close to Dakota had instilled in him a new excitement, something that his long-term marriage no longer brought. Dakota, far away, had no idea that her carefree steps with Jamie had stirred up a storm. To her, it was just a day of free play, but to Amelia, it was an unforgivable betrayal. The London sky was thick that night, the rain pattered against the window. Amid the sound of the rain, Amelia stood up and walked towards the stairs, leaving Jamie alone in the large living room. For the first time in years, his house felt cold. That night, Jamie went to Amelia's room. She sat by the window, her eyes looking out at the rain, holding photos of him and Dakota. The air was so thick and heavy that it was almost suffocating. Amelia spoke coldly. "Do you know how much gossip I've heard? They looked at me like I was an idiot, Jamie. The wife left behind while her husband went out to have fun with his co-stars." Jamie frowned, her voice hoarse. "Amelia, things aren't like what you think. Dakota is just..." The sentence was interrupted by Amelia's bitter laughter. "Just a friend? A friend who made you leave home for days, leaving your wife and children to worry? Look into my eyes, do you still dare to say just a friend?" The air was broken. Jamie was silent, unable to come up with an excuse. His silence was the cruelest answer. Amelia stood up, her eyes brimming with tears but her voice firm. "If you choose to walk out this door once for her, don't expect to find me waiting behind you." She left the room, leaving Jamie slumped in his chair. In his mind, the sound of rain mixed with the chaotic beating of his heart, and the image of Dakota appeared mixed with Amelia's proud back. For the first time, Jamie felt truly out of control, not just in his career, but in the family he once thought was a safe haven. The next morning, the pale sunlight shone through the curtains, illuminating the chaotic scene in the bedroom. The suitcase was wide open, the clothes were neatly folded, and familiar items disappeared from the closet one by one. Amelia stood in front of the mirror, her hands shaking slightly as she took off her wedding ring. The cold metal ring, which had bound her for years, now fell to the table with a dry clack. Jamie walked in, his eyes red from not sleeping all night. He looked at the suitcase, at the ring, then at Amelia. "Are you really going to leave?" His voice was hoarse. Amelia did not turn around. "You didn't leave, Jamie. I left this place first, when I chose her over you." The words made him choke up. Jamie reached out as if to hold Amelia, but his steps were heavy, unable to move closer. In that moment, the distance between them was farther than any flight. Amelia pulled her suitcase and walked down the stairs. Each step was like a knife carving into Jamie's heart. The door opened, letting in light, then closed with a bang that echoed throughout the house. Jamie stood there, stunned. The large house suddenly felt empty. In his mind, Dakota's laughter from that night echoed, mixed with the figure of Amelia leaving. He realized that sometimes the choice wasn't between two women, but between a moment of freedom and an eternal family. And unfortunately, he chose wrong. While London was drenched in the gloomy rain, in a quiet corner of a Los Angeles cafe, Dakota Johnson sat silently, her eyes looking out the window. On the phone screen, a series of news stories spread. Amelia Warner left home after Jamie Dornan got intimate with Dakota Johnson. Dakota gently squeezed the hot cup of coffee, her palm burning, but she didn't want to let go. People called her name in that story like an interloper, but in truth, she herself didn't understand where she stood. A friend stopped by, put a hand on Dakota's shoulder, and asked, "Do you really want this? Do you want to be seen as the reason for the breakdown of his family?" Dakota was silent. She remembered the evenings with Jamie, the cheerful laughter, the rare freedom he brought. But when the image of Amelia dragging her suitcase appeared in the newspaper, she suddenly felt her chest heave. Dakota whispered to herself, "He never belonged to me. It was all an illusion." In her eyes, Jamie was neither a lover nor a soulmate. He was just an unfinished role, a beautiful memory but in the wrong place, at the wrong time. And Amelia, the wife who silently endured, was the truth that Jamie was losing. Dakota stood up, leaving behind her unfinished cup of coffee. Outside, the afternoon sun covered the bustling street. Amidst the hustle and bustle, she walked away, carrying with her emptiness and a reminder to herself. Sometimes, letting go is not because you don't love, but because you don't want to become a wound in someone else's life. Weeks passed since Amelia left. Jamie's house was intact, but no longer warm. Everything reminded him. The piano Amelia used to play, the cup of tea with the scent of mint that she loved, and the armchair where she read under the yellow light. Jamie threw himself into work, but every night, he felt lost in the void. The paparazzi photos of Dakota now became a stain he could not erase. He started writing letters, then tearing them up, calling, then hanging up. All only to realize that Amelia had disappeared from his life like a cloud that disappeared into the sky. One day, Jamie decided to fly to Paris, where he heard that Amelia was living with friends. He carried a white rose, nervously walking into the small street where she rented an apartment. But when the door opened, the woman standing in front of him just shook her head slightly. "She's gone, Jamie. Amelia has chosen to leave Europe, to start a new life. She doesn't want to be found anymore." The rose in Jamie's hand trembled. He turned away, walking out into the misty street. The sound of the train from the nearby station echoed, reminding him of Amelia's last words. "If you choose to walk out this door once for her, then don't expect to find me waiting behind." Jamie sat silently by the train station, his eyes lifeless. The train carrying Amelia, or at least the last hope of her, had left the station long ago. And this time, he knew he had truly lost. The sky in Paris was dim, the street lights cast Jamie's long shadow on the ground. A successful man, a famous star, but now he was just a lost traveler in his own life.